Tonight, Lady Esther and the Screen Guild players present Walter Huston, Bette Davis, and Nan Sunderland in the story of Sam Dodsworth and his wife, Fran. This is a saga of the Gilded 20s, when it was the fashion for American leaders of industry to give up their hard-won power, sell their business, and try to enjoy the money they had made by doing nothing and seeing the world. Ladies and gentlemen, Dodsworth.
Don't look so forlorn, Sam, darling. Never seeing each other again is going to be a little hard. But you and I just can't go on together. I love Kurt, Sam. I stand by that. Just the same, we've had many happy times.
Divorce. After 20 years, Fran Dodsworth is leaving her husband to marry a younger man. Rather, she has asked Sam Dodsworth to leave her while she got a divorce, and Sam has agreed. But even as they sit in the living room of their Vienna hotel apartment, waiting for the bellboy to carry Sam's luggage downstairs to a waiting car, Sam is still trying desperately to hold their marriage together. They're discussing the separation and the events leading up to it.
I'd like to have a talk with you before you go. Kurt's the soul of European nobility and honor, you know.
Don't you realize what you're doing, Fran? Can't you understand that you're smashing something we've been building for 20 years? Come home with me, Fran. We were happy there.
Maybe you were happy, Sam Dodsworth, but I wasn't. Nothing ever happened in Zenith, Michigan. Day in and day out, I saw the same uninteresting faces, listened to the same dull conversation, did the same deadly things, while you worked night and day building Dodsworth Motors.
Yes, I sold Dodsworth Motors just to make you happy, Fran. We sailed for Europe just to make you happy.
Well, if you're really concerned with my happiness, you can stop talking about the whole affair. I want my freedom. Oh, you've never known me, Sam. I tell you, I'll be happy with Kurt. You can't drag me back, Sam Dodsworth.
Perhaps not, Fran. But I owe it to both of us, and our daughter and our grandson.
Stop trying to make an old woman out of me by talking about our grandson.
I'm not trying to make an old woman out of you, Fran. But we've come a long ways together, and I'm trying to remind you of our common interests. You know, we haven't had any common interests since we left America.
Well, you certainly acted like a hick tourist as soon as the ship passed the Statue of Liberty.
Yes, and you act as though you were ashamed of me.
I was.
Spent all your time dancing with that young Englishman. On our last night out, when I sighted Bishop's Light, you hurried back to your dancing. You wouldn't share my enthusiasm and watch it with me. You left me to watch the light with another woman.
What is it you call that light, Mr. Dodsworth?
Bishop's Light. Of course, I'd never been across before. I got excited. Say, you got my name. Will you mind telling me yours?
Mrs. Courtright.
Mrs. Courtright, thanks. We haven't spoken before.
No.
You don't seem to talk to many people on board. My wife said you didn't open up much when she tried you.
Perhaps I wasn't feeling so well that day.
You feeling better tonight?
Much better, thank you.
Are you an American?
I don't know what I am. I used to be a British subject by marriage. I don't know that one can be a British subject by divorce. I expect I'm just a woman who lives in Italy. I came from Pennsylvania originally.
Say, what's it like, living abroad?
Well, that depends on what one's after, as you'd say.
Well, what are you after?
What do you suppose any lone woman's after?
Well, I guess my wife... she tells me I ask too many questions. Well, I guess I better be getting down to my cabin if I'm going to be ready to get off in England in the morning. Well, good night, Mrs. Courtright. I hope to see you soon again.
Good night, Mr. Dodsworth, and thank you.
Yes, I didn't get off to England, though. You wanted to go to France instead. Remember the night, your birthday party in Paris?
Only too well. Sam, you were unbearable.
Our guests were Mrs. Courtright and Mrs. Penable.
Madame Penable.
All right. Arnold Island and Kurt. And because Mrs. Courtright had given me her address in Naples, you started to pick her to pieces. Remember that? It was quite a scene, Fran.
Sam, you like that Courtright woman, don't you?
Well, you thought she was the most distinguished-looking woman on the boat.
Well, maybe I did, but she certainly seems a frump in Paris. But, of course, I'm always glad to see a friend of yours, Sam, even the not particularly amusing ones.
Fran, haven't we had about enough of Paris?
In a month.
Well, I mean, isn't it about time we began thinking about going back home?
Home? Oh, goodness, no. Sam, I want to see lots more of Europe. Sam, Sam, I've been wondering, why don't you go home?
What, without you?
Yes, why don't you?
No, I wouldn't want to go home without you, Fran.
Oh, but it's obvious you aren't enjoying Paris. Oh, I'm only thinking of your pleasure, Sam. If you were thinking of mine, you wouldn't ask me to leave just as we've gotten to know some really nice people.
Arnold Island, Mrs. Penable, Kurt von Oberstdorf. You think the real thing in Paris would hang out with a couple of hicks like us?
Sam.
Well, what else are we? I'm just an ordinary American businessman, and I married the daughter of a Zenith brewer, who seems to be flying pretty high these days.
I suppose you know what you mean by that.
Well, why won't you sit at a sidewalk cafe with me?
Because smart people don't,
I'm
that's
not
all.
smart.
I am.
You ought to be smart enough not to care what people think.
Oh, you simply refuse to understand.
Well, I can't. I like men to be something more than head waiters.
I've heard my friends insulted enough.
A lot of gigolos.
I do think, Sam, you might use something beside that word gigolo, which I taught you.
You did not.
You certainly never learned it at Yale, Sam. They don't know about such things at Yale.
Will you stop sneering?
I'm sick and tired, Sam, of apologizing to my friends.
Have you been apologizing to
yes,
this crowd?
Yes, I have.
All right, I'll get it. Hello? No, I'm sorry. All right. Well, they've been making so much noise, someone's complained.
Oh, how humiliating.
Yes, isn't it? All right, go ahead. Pipe down, but go ahead.
You have the mistiest notion of civilization here.
Yeah, well, maybe I don't think so much of it. Maybe clean hospitals, concrete highways, and no soldiers along the Canadian border come near my idea of civilization. There are 20 million automobiles at home in America, and I've contributed something to every one of them out of my own personal civilization. And if that isn't more than knowing how to order dinner with your friend the madam...
Don't you call her the madam, either.
All right. Let's not start that again. I'm going to get out of this town and back to doing something and take you along.
Sam, I'm not going.
Oh, yes, you are.
No, we need a vacation from each other.
I think I've been weak with you long enough.
I've taken a villa for the summer with Renee in Switzerland. I've signed the lease.
Well, I think you might have told me, Fran.
I've got my own money.
Fran.
What?
Oh, Fran, darling, you're not drifting away from me.
I hope not.
But you and I, Fran, after 20 years? All right, I won't go home. I'll give it up.
You've got to go, Sam. You've simply got to go. I can't stand being torn this way any longer. Oh, I'm sorry for everything mean I've said, but if we're going on together, Sam, I've got to be left alone this summer. You've just got to let me have my fling now, because you're simply rushing at old age, Sam, and I'm not ready for that yet.
Yes, that was the beginning of the end, wasn't it, Fran?
I guess so.
I went home all right, as you wanted me to, and left you in Europe. Then I got suspicious that you were sharing the summer with Arnold Island and hurried back.
Yes, I remember only too well. I wouldn't have believed that you could have been so cruel.
You wouldn't have believed anything I might have told you about Island. But I don't think you'll ever forget that night in our Paris hotel room when we waited for a caller I was expecting.
Sam, who are you expecting at this time of night?
At Cherbourg, I sent a man a telegram to meet me here. I'll give him 10 minutes to get here.
But, Sam, dear, who do you know on the continent?
Come in.
Mr. Dodsworth?
Arnold Island. What are you doing here?
Your husband sent for me.
Oh, I do think you might have told me, Sam.
It wasn't my idea to tell you. I wanted to see you two face to face.
I have never heard of anything so outrageous in my life.
I'm sorry, Fran. I don't like undercover work myself. Island, have you ever noticed how transparent people are when you really look at them? I'm sure you've given Franz the things she wanted and never got from me. But I'm interested in what I want, too. And that happens to be peace of mind.
Well, if you can bring yourself to see matters
I
reasonably...
crossed the Atlantic Ocean to be reasonable. You two want to marry each other?
Sam, I simply won't let you throw me at Arnold's head.
I'm finding all this thoroughly distasteful, Dodsworth.
I thought you would.
I'll go now, if you'll excuse me.
Sure, I'll excuse you. You haven't anything more to say to him, have you, Fran?
No, nothing.
I hope you achieve your peace of mind, Dodsworth. Good night.
Good night.
Oh, Sam. Sam, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm so dreadfully sorry.
Yeah? Well, I wish it hadn't happened.
Sam, listen to me. I've never really been in love with anyone but you. You know that, Sam. I swear it.
All right. I'm ready to wipe the slate clean, Fran. I've loved you and been married to you for 20 years. All I want to do is to hang on to you if I can.
Oh, Sam.
Tomorrow we'll start out for the Tyrol, Italy, any place.